1. ADHD medication shortage, causes and solutions. 2. ADHD medication shortage, what you need to know. 3. ADHD drug shortage sparks black market fears in Australia. 1. ADHD medication shortage, causes and solutions. Imagine the shock of hearing that the very medications many depend on for ADHD are becoming scarce. This is not a drill. Recent reports reveal that some of the most commonly prescribed ADHD drugs may be hard to come by until the end of the year, leaving countless Australians at risk of not getting their prescriptions filled at the pharmacy. But here's where it gets controversial. Why is this happening? The explanation, as Professor Dave Coghill puts it, is anything but simple. The shortage stems from a dual problem. First, there is a disruption in the supply of a key raw ingredient from the United States that is essential for producing methylphenidate, the active component found in popular medications like Ritalin and Concerta. Second, there has been an increase in the diagnosis rate of ADHD, which has naturally boosted the demand for these treatments. According to Professor Coghill, this is not about negligence or malice, it's a complex global supply chain issue that has left even the manufacturers in a bind, as they have little control over every aspect of production. The impact is significant, even if it might seem numerically small. While it's hard to pinpoint exactly how many people in Australia are affected, given that not all individuals with ADHD use medication, it is estimated that over 1 million Australians live with the condition. Professor Coghill, who serves as president of the Australasian ADHD Professionals Association, notes that while the medications may only serve about 1% of the population, 1% still translates into a substantial number of Australians who rely on these drugs for daily stability. So, what can you do if you find yourself unable to secure your regular ADHD medication? First and foremost, try to remain calm. Since the shortage is specifically related to methylphenidate, there are alternative medications available that can work just as effectively for many patients. Experts advise contacting your prescriber, whether that's a psychiatrist or a child's developmental pediatrician, as soon as possible. In a light-hearted nod to the common tendency among those with ADHD to put things off, Professor Coghill stresses the importance of addressing the issue immediately. More often than not, your prescriber will be able to arrange an appropriate alternative treatment plan. John Kramer, chair of the ADHD, ASD, and Neurodiversity Specialist Group at the Royal Australian College of GPs and a certified prescriber, echoes this sentiment. He points out that every prescriber is now fully aware of the dilemma. This awareness comes with a professional obligation to ensure that existing patients continue to receive their necessary care without undue delay. As a result, many doctors might postpone taking on new patients in order to focus on those who urgently need their medication. But what if you're unable to schedule an appointment with your usual specialist? Don't lose hope, your regular general practitioner, GP, can also be a valuable ally. Dr. Kramer explains that even if a GP isn't directly managing your ADHD treatment, they can still offer crucial support. If you or your child run completely out of medication and cannot see your specialist, your GP can act on your behalf by contacting the local regulatory authority to request an emergency, individualized application for your medication. This step is taken with the expectation that regulators will show the necessary compassion and flexibility in these challenging times. And now, let's address a critical point. Should you consider tapering off your dosage during this shortage? In general, this is not recommended. Although Professor Coghill emphasizes that adults with ADHD have the autonomy to make their own treatment decisions and that harmful withdrawal effects are unlikely, he also warns that maintaining treatment is essential. For many, consistent medication helps manage not just school or work challenges but is also key to reducing family tensions and maintaining overall daily stability. This situation raises important questions about our reliance on complex global supply chains for critical medications. And this is the part most people miss. Should healthcare systems be rethinking how they secure vital treatment ingredients, or is this shortage an unavoidable consequence of modern pharmaceutical production? We invite you to reflect on these issues and share your views in the comments. Do you agree that more should be done to ensure a steady supply, or do you see this as an inevitable challenge of today's interconnected world? Your thoughts and opinions could spark a fascinating discussion. 2. ADHD medication shortage, what you need to know. Imagine the stress of managing ADHD without access to your usual medications. This is the reality many are facing, as shortages of long-acting methylphenidate drugs, such as Concerta and Teva XR, are expected to persist until the end of December. Additionally, shortages of Ritalin LA and Robufen LA capsules are anticipated, with Ritalin 10 mg immediate-release tablets expected to be in short supply starting in July. However, Ardage 10 mg immediate-release tablets remain available, according to a recent alert from the TGA. In response, the TGA has approved the use of overseas registered substitute capsules in various strengths until January 2026. It's important to note that these alternatives are not subsidized by the PBS, and the TGA has not provided details on their pricing or availability. To tackle this issue, the TGA has established a Medicine Shortage Action Group, MSAG, which includes input from nearly a dozen organizations such as the RACGP, AMA, ADHD Foundation, and the Pharmaceutical Society of Australia. The MSAG is advising healthcare providers to consider the ongoing shortages and explore the availability of other ADHD medications, which can be found in the Section 19A approvals database. These alternatives originate from countries like Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, and the US. When possible, it's recommended to switch within the same stimulant class. However, there is no established dose equivalence between methylphenidate and amphetamine-based stimulants, necessitating new titration for cross-class switching. After changing medications, it's crucial to monitor patients closely, documenting any changes in symptom response, appetite, sleep, mood, and cardiovascular health. Patients should be informed that different formulations can lead to varied responses and side effects, particularly concerning sleep and appetite. Prescribers are encouraged to document the rationale, obtain informed consent, and outline treatment plans and monitoring outcomes for all medication adjustments. Frequent reviews are advised initially following a substitution to ensure the new medication's effectiveness and tolerability. These shortages are not isolated to one country, they are a global issue attributed to manufacturing problems and increased demand. The TGA advises that pharmacists, patients, and caregivers may need to contact prescribers to authorize the use of alternative strengths or formulations of methylphenidate substitutes. The TGA acknowledges the challenges these shortages pose, including the additional administrative burden on prescribers. Early awareness of shortages allows for timely review and adjustment of prescriptions and treatment plans for patients. Currently, dextroamphetamine IR and lisdexamfetamine remain available. Clinical resources are accessible, providing guidance on switching from long-acting to short-acting methylphenidate, cross-class switching to amphetamine-based stimulants, and dosage transitions. While dose equivalence tables are only applicable to within-class switching, they serve as a useful reference for prescribing short-acting products to replace long-acting brands and doses. But here's where it gets controversial. The lack of PBS subsidies for these alternatives could place a financial burden on patients. What are your thoughts on this? Should there be more support for those affected by these shortages? Share your opinions in the comments below. 3. ADHD drug shortage sparks black market fears in Australia. A troubling situation is unfolding as a significant shortage of a specific ADHD medication is impacting countless Australians. This crisis is forcing individuals who rely on this essential treatment to either switch to amphetamine-based alternatives or pay a hefty sum of $200 for non-subsidized options. This predicament raises serious concerns about the potential rise of a black market for these medications, as desperate patients seek solutions to their health needs. Imagine being in a position where your well-being hinges on a medication that is suddenly hard to come by. The implications of this shortage are profound, affecting not just the individuals who need these drugs, but also their families and communities. The choice between switching medications, which may not be as effective or suitable, and spending a significant amount of money for the necessary treatment is a dilemma that many are now facing. But here's where it gets controversial. the reliance on amphetamine-based alternatives may not be the best solution for everyone. Some patients may experience different side effects or find that these alternatives do not work as effectively for their specific symptoms. This situation prompts a critical question: should the healthcare system be doing more to ensure that patients have access to the medications they need without resorting to expensive or potentially unsafe alternatives? As we navigate this complex issue, it's essential to consider the broader implications of drug shortages and the potential for a black market to emerge. What are your thoughts on this situation? Do you believe that the current healthcare policies are sufficient to protect patients, or is there a need for reform? We invite you to share your opinions in the comments below.